this is going to be a tough week, I think, around Australia as we head to Australia Day on Friday, the national holiday for January 26, that the hard left have year after year after year tried to demonise. The attack on our celebration of all things that are great about living in this fantastic country has intensified every year to the point where we find ourselves today. Unbelievably, two sports that Australians love, cricket and tennis, have been shamed into cowardly behaviour where a test match in Brisbane will have a smoking ceremony praising past, present and emerging Indigenous leaders, but will ignore the nation that lends its name to the test team, the Australian cricket team. So divisive has this argument been turned into by radical anti-Australian protests, I suspect there are members of that cricket team, of the first 11, who would like to show support for the majority of Australians but are too scared to speak out. That's a disgrace. A female and male cricketer of Indigenous heritage even called for matches not to be played on January 26 as a mark of respect. Seriously? Do these people not accept that we had a national referendum last year where 60% of Australians made it very clear they do not want their country divided along racial lines? We as a population said no to what amounted to a separate Indigenous voice to Parliament, not available to non-Indigenous Australians by a whopping majority, 60%. So how is it that Cricket Australia and Tennis Australia think it's a good idea to ignore the majority of Australians and pander to a vocal minority because they shout louder? It's pathetic, and one can only hope that I see, as I did at the weekend, more and more spectators at the tennis and the cricket draping the Australian flag, which of course the shouty left also hate, around their shoulders. But the tennis and cricket weak-kneed administrators are probably the least of our troubles this week. Come Friday, the aggressive, dangerous, radical black movement led by Senator Lidia Thorpe and her deranged supporters will take to the streets linking their claims of colonial settlement as being an invasion, making claims of genocide and brutal violence to the current conflict that's unfolding in Gaza. And sadly, many younger Australians just hear the loopy protest, shouting and don't bother to check the facts. Add to that a bunch of state Labor governments, especially in Victoria, who are a long way down the road to treaty and the inevitable reparation or guilt money, despite the Voice result. Mark my words, you will see Indigenous flags right alongside the flag of Palestine, all ignoring the October 7 terror attack on Israel, the worst mass murder of Jews since the Holocaust. Just last Saturday, I witnessed a convoy of Palestinian vehicles doing laps of the blocks of the city CBD in Melbourne with a child looking to me to be about 10 or 12 years old, shouting into a microphone attached to rooftop speakers on the car about the river to the sea mantra, the destruction of Israel. Kid was 10 or 11 years old. The convoy then travelled to a docks protest that turned violent yesterday, with masked protesters hit with capsicum spray while 200 police finally broke up the blockade. I say finally because it took police days to even go down there. And their excuse from Command, Victoria Police Command, they were too busy policing the Australian Open tennis. I'm serious. This is a port blockade causing 55,000 containers to be stranded on ships, costing the economy millions of dollars a day. Too busy at the tennis? I kid you not.